On February 11, 2025, explosions rocked cities across Ukraine. Russia launched a massive wave of missile attacks. This marked a deadly escalation in the ongoing war. Ukrainian civilians woke to air raid sirens, a terrifying reminder of the conflict's ever-present danger. The attacks targeted vital infrastructure, plunging cities into darkness. Power grids collapsed, essential services faced disruptions. This was a calculated assault on Ukraine's lifeline. The Ukrainian government quickly confirmed the attacks. President Volodymyr Zelensky addressed the nation. He condemned the strikes as barbaric acts of terrorism. Zelensky vowed that Ukraine would not be broken by such aggression. He called upon the international community for swift and decisive support. The missile barrage was not an isolated incident. It came on the heels of weeks of heightened tensions. Fighting had intensified along the front lines in eastern Ukraine. Diplomatic efforts to de-escalate the conflict had stalled. The missile attacks signaled a dangerous new phase in the war. This latest Russian aggression drew immediate condemnation from world leaders. The United States, the European Union, and NATO all issued statements denouncing the attacks. They called for an immediate cessation of hostilities and a return to diplomacy. But concrete action, beyond words of condemnation, remained elusive. The world watched as Ukraine once again became a battleground. The February 11th attacks were not random acts of violence. They represented a deliberate strategy by Russia to cripple Ukraine. The targets were carefully selected: power plants, gas pipelines, transportation hubs. These were the arteries of the Ukrainian state. By striking these key points, Russia aimed to sow chaos and weaken Ukraine's ability to resist. The weapons used were a mix of deadly efficiency. Russia deployed Iskander ballistic missiles. These weapons are known for their speed and accuracy. They are difficult to intercept, making them a terrifying threat. Cruise missiles, launched from warships in the Black Sea, also rained down on Ukrainian cities. The scale and sophistication of the attack underscored Russia's willingness to inflict maximum damage. The attacks exposed the vulnerability of civilian infrastructure in modern warfare. Power outages rippled across the country. Hospitals struggled to keep generators running, schools and businesses shut down. The attacks were a stark reminder that war does not discriminate between military targets and civilian lives. Experts believe that Russia was also sending a message with these attacks. Beyond the immediate goal of crippling Ukraine, the attacks were intended to signal Russia's resolve. They were a warning to the West about the potential costs of continued support for Ukraine. This raised fears that the conflict could spiral further out of control. As the dust settled from the missile attacks, the true extent of the devastation became clear. The human cost was staggering. While official casualty figures remained incomplete, reports from hospitals across Ukraine painted a grim picture. Hundreds were confirmed dead, thousands more were injured, many with life-altering wounds. Emergency responders worked tirelessly to reach those trapped beneath rubble. Hospitals overflowed with the wounded. Shortages of medical supplies and trained personnel exacerbated the crisis. The attacks left a trail of shattered lives in their wake. Families torn apart, homes reduced to rubble. The psychological scars of this violence would likely linger long after the physical wounds had healed. The international community reacted to the attacks with a mixture of outrage and despair. World leaders condemned the violence and called for accountability. The United Nations Security Council held an emergency meeting, but deep divisions between Russia and the West prevented any meaningful action. Humanitarian organizations mobilized to provide aid to Ukraine, but the scale of the crisis threatened to overwhelm relief efforts. The missile attacks laid bare the urgent need for a peaceful resolution to the conflict. But with diplomatic channels seemingly at a standstill, the prospects for peace remained grim. In the face of unrelenting aggression, the spirit of the Ukrainian people remained unbroken. Citizens demonstrated extraordinary courage and resilience. Volunteers joined territorial defense units to protect their communities. Ordinary Ukrainians took up arms, determined to defend their homeland. The Ukrainian military, though outmatched, mounted a spirited defense. Drawing upon lessons from years of fighting in the east, Ukrainian forces employed flexible and mobile tactics. They utilized anti-tank weapons and drones to great effect. The international community provided some support. Shipments of military equipment bolstered Ukraine's defenses. Financial aid helped stabilize the Ukrainian economy. But these measures fell short of Ukraine's desperate pleas for more robust military assistance. The missile attacks on February 11th marked a turning point in the war. They shattered any remaining illusions about a quick Russian victory. But they also underscored the high stakes and potential for further escalation. As the conflict entered a protracted phase, the world watched with apprehension and hope. The outcome of the war in Ukraine would have profound implications for the international order.